Okay, so this is your agenda. I really want to hear. I went back to kind of read through our exchanges on Instagram, and one was you had reached out to others and hadn't really heard anything. So we can touch on that, but I want to understand more about what's going on, how long it took, how long it's been happening, when did it begin, and then how I think I got an idea on how you found your way here. So take it away.
All right. I had to write down a few things too. But I'll just start with how it started. Well, um, I'm not so I'm more nervous about stuff like this than I am being around all the crazy stuff I'm about to tell you, because none of that has been scary, but for some reason doing podcasts or, one-on-one, you know what I mean? It's just you get kind
Yeah,
of nervous. So I'm trying to push past that.
good.
So
There's nothing to be nervous about. It's just me and you.
yeah,
And
it's just
really,
us.
I'm here. We're going to have an exchange because I'm really curious in what happened to you. I've had my
Okay.
own extraordinary experiences, and I love to hear when somebody else has too. I'm
Oh yeah.
here to be a touchstone for them because when this stuff started happening to me, that's what I was reaching out for is who can help me understand what any of
Yeah.
this is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, a lot of my stuff actually started when I came across Chris Bledsoe. Are you familiar with him?
I know his name. I just feel familiar to me. You know, when you dive deep into this community, you hear about everybody and you stop, take it in for a while, see what resonates, see what doesn't, and you get to pick and choose. I kind of got sucked into this community and found out a lot of things from the inside that were disappointing in the long run. I
Yeah.
thought that the community was full of lots of other people who'd had extraordinary experiences. And I'm not saying that they didn't, but at some point you can tell their growth stopped. However, they stopped their evolution. Now, this extraordinary experience and this awareness of stuff beyond themselves, it's real for them. But now it's become more important to be famous, and I'm more
I
interested in
know.
likes. And look, that doesn't appeal to me at all. In fact, I prefer doing these private one-on-one connections with my tribe as opposed to getting on the stage. I did that. And I found all the snake oil salesmen there and it didn't resonate with me anymore. These people for the most part weren't experiencers. They're talking heads talking about somebody else. And look, I send you love and light, but that's not where my time and my attention needs to go. There's others that have had extraordinary experiences like mine. And I have this sense that this is all picking up rapidly, and there are more people showing up. So that's where I'm going to place my attention. So, having said that, when was that when you started to come across Chris Bledsoe, would you say?
Um, well, I only had one small incident before Chris. Chris was August. He came out with Beyond Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, August
That
of what
was
year?
August of 2023. I
Okay,
only
good.
had one thing before that, and that was I was getting into the UFO phenomenon before that and do the C5 thing and a sphere of like a round sphere had come down. But then I watched a couple scary movies and completely shut down and got real scared. And that was the end of
See,
it.
yeah, that's
Um,
what happens. It's not an unusual story, and to me, it's good and bad. And I shouldn't categorize it as good and bad. To me, it's good because it demonstrates you are vibrating at a level that vibrates with them. Because now you're aware of what's going on. Because there's a lot of people walking around you who don't see what you're seeing, but you do. Now, the unfortunate part is that you, like most other humans, I suspect, the first contacts like that is unsettling. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And that's the part where when we move forward, I'm convinced, I know there's going to be greater contact made by people who vibrate at the levels that these beings vibrate at. And I'm pretty sure that the first pass is going to be a lot like that. Just people freaking out. Now, I hope for them that they can get beyond that and hope that their experience wasn't malevolent, because the only beings that I am aware of in my field and around me, there's lots of residue of negative entities around me, and we have to still play with that. But to me, there's no new beings coming, and I'm not drawing people that don't vibrate at the way
Well,
I do. So,
yeah. No, everything has been, oh, I've seen some things and everything. So I was just not like, okay, before this, okay, and then I'll get into what happened after Chris prayed for me to his spiritual angelic beings that he sees. Um, I was living in fear and pain. Um, and so like it was that, yeah, I had to tell you that so you can understand how it just kind of went away after this started happening. So in August, I saw Chris on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. I started corresponding with him. Something about his story resonated with me. Something about his story made me feel like what he's saying is 100% because this lady named Hathor went to him and gave this message and to wake up humanity. And that's all kind of pinned in my profile. Anyway, as I'm going over all his podcasts, I'm like, I resonated with this guy, and so it wasn't just like I just immediately started seeing things. I was corresponding with him. We were going back and forth for a while. I'm like, this lady, what does she look like? All curious because we came here, we forgot, and he's like, well, she's just as human as you and me. Um, but she was a spirit at that time. She's the Holy Spirit. And so I just resonated and I trusted his story so much so that I wasn't afraid. And then I had to do some inner work. Um, I had to do a lot of what do they call that? Dark night of the soul.
sure.
So going in and working through stuff, and I'm like, so I asked Chris, I'm like, can you ask your beings, can I didn't tell him what I asked him for. Um, I said they'll know, and between me and you, I asked to be if I was forgiven. Can I be forgiven? Because I worked through all that stuff, right? I just worked through all that stuff. I let it go, and then the magic starts to happen. But I had to work through all that yuck to be able to release it, to let the magic start to come in. Okay,
Wow.
and then yeah, and so October, end of August, October, I started seeing this really cool, like what I thought was like a satellite kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, cool. Look. And then I'm like, we went to bingo and I'm like, oh, well, it's here too. And I'm like, we went to church and it was there. And I'm like, next thing you know, I started catching on to his schedule. Um, And and so he would come down at a certain and just kind of sit there. That was who I called Firefly. And I'm like, you can come down finally, because after about 3 or 4 weeks, I'm like, waiting for him, looking forward to when he's coming down. Um, and and so then he really started coming down and coming down and getting close to me. And then he must have told a few friends, so then a few more started coming. And then oh, I gotta get my list because I don't want to get all um so I'm interacting, I'm posting. I've been recording and posting since this started, only here on Instagram because I don't think the world would be ready for what I have to offer because there's a whole lot of stuff. You're laughing because something resonated?
I was like you when I first started to be introduced to this phenomenon. Well, my first pass with multidimensionality, as you know, was Inner Earth and beings in Telos. It was when Dave Wallace came across my path a few years ago that experience with beyond Earth sentience started materialize for me too. So at first, I was like you. Everybody needs to see this. I went out and got an infrared camera that could record, and I was like you. I was recording everything and not
Everything.
disappointed at all.
Never.
I would go to, there was one event I went to at a friend's compound who lives near Shasta. And overnight, she has these oh get-togethers. We can call them ceremonies, but she invites over 12, 14, 15 people. And we know that this 20 acres that her property is on, that she and her partner on, is energetically charged with light orbs and light beings because they're there all the time. And when she invites us over, we kind of sit around it, and it's Jamie's job to kind of film and photograph what's happening in the perimeter. Well, this particular night, there was one other guy that came and bought one of these cameras, like I was telling you about. And Dustin didn't come there really interested in the phenomenon going around here with the light beings. He wanted to point it up at the sky and see what he could get because he was well aware and he's captured lots of phenomenon in the Shasta area. Well, the night that he was there, he caught, and you know what it's like to point at the sky. What do I point at? Pick a constellation, okay? Whatever zone he picked, there was a phenomenon that happened that we got to watch. He recorded it, he took some screenshots of it later, but we had watched a spot in the sky where he found three craft that were kind of moving uniformly. And as these three craft came into the focus, all of a sudden, this time warp, whatever you want to call it, you could see this ring kind of form and open, and these three craftsmen into it. They disappeared, and so did this, and off it went. Okay, I'm sold. So yes, this phenomenon takes place. If you're looking at, anyway, make a long story short, I recorded so much of it after a while, Jenny, that I just stopped. Oh my God, I've got so much of this. And really, when I started to look at it, in order for me to show it to somebody else, they wouldn't know what they were saying. Even though you and
Yeah,
I have recorded tons and tons of it, and we know the difference between that and satellites, and it's not that.
it
um,
definitely wasn't that.
yes. Anyhow, right now, it's not whether they exist in the sky at all to me anymore. It's the fact that contact is being made. And that's what's getting stepped up here. People's awareness of what's up there, you only have to spend a little bit of time. And when I was listening to you talk about um, how quickly your response for contact came from this particular source, I know how Dave told me he went about it. And Dave has regular experiences and he's been taken. Anyhow, it took him months to get to the place where you got in apparently like weeks and had this regular contact to a place where now there's multiple contact take place. It doesn't surprise me at all. I looked at that orb that you put on YouTube and I was fascinated by it. I've seen things like that. I couldn't really tell, is this a telomere, which is some type of a hologram that instead of a ship having to land, I don't have to land. Here's how we get to the surface. Ship doesn't have to land. Whether it was that or whether it was a different form of being, because as it was moving, it was holographic and changing. The sphere stayed current, but whatever was going on around in it, that is not normal. No.
No, no. Oh, and I was taken too. So Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We do. We got a lot to share. And I went from being feared to like, yeah, I'll tell you about it. But so Firefly brought his friends. Next thing you know, I got all these stars coming down, and then the Orion's belt was doing it too, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm posting it. Um, and then the Big Dipper was doing it. They were blinking on, blinking off, and and there was so much love. Like I'm like, let's go Firefly. I mean, that Firefly would, as soon as I got comfortable with it, it would come down, right? And it's following me around. It's my best bud. Only when it's clear though. For some reason, I think they got a different rule book that they can't really look like stars if it's cloudy. Um, but some other people wanted to see them, like David, my friend David, or like Brandy, Lilac Brandy, she's on Instagram, or a few others. And I'm like, okay, so I had Firefly come down and I showed a picture of Brandy, and it would be like that instant she would start seeing them, and she's like, Jen, it worked. So she's kind of like my part of my testimony, because she can attest that it works, and so she's doing it for other people, and that's how we're getting people to wake up to the truth. And then I'll get to the part where because there's so much, but I'll get to the part where I was like noticing this weird looking moon, and it's not the moon that I'm going to tell you about now. Okay, this is different. So the very first moon was January of last year, and I tried filming it when it was, you know, starting to come down a little bit. And it would stop as soon as I broke out the camera. Okay. And there would be like these things, these star like all alignment all the way around it, but it just looked different. It looked different. And then I thought, when it was right above me, because it was following me. When it was above me, I'm like, are we like Dolores Cannon ourselves right into another dimension? Like, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Because it was just getting closer. And again, I'm not knowing this is January, a few months after I woke up, and I didn't know. And Firefly was like swimming around by the moon. I'm like, come on back down here. What are you doing? He was trying to get my attention to look at this moon. And, I'm just like, no, come on, Firefly. And I'm like, come back down. Um, well, one day I'm like staring at this moon, and I'm like, what's up? What's up with you? And I'm like looking up at it. And next thing you know, it started coming down, and it's coming down, and it really was so luminescent. It was just different. And then it detached from the sky. So, and then behind it, it had big petals all the way around it, but you could hardly see it because it was like blackened or something. Um, yeah, but you could definitely see it. And as it detached, I sat there and I'm sitting outside, it's cold. I didn't care. I'm like, you can come closer. So it came closer, and it came like close, really close. And it was so silent as it detached and flew down that it was going hard right and looking, and I'm like looking at it, and I wasn't scared. That's the thing, is I was not scared. And it was going back and forth, and I'm like, you could come a little closer. I think you look pretty cool. So, I just wasn't scared. So,
What do you think you saw?
that was a definite ship. That was a moon ship.
Exactly.
That was
Exactly a
a moon
ship.
ship. I have not seen anything move that gracefully or maneuver like that. I have
You
seen
will.
ships. Oh, I've seen ships. I just haven't seen that same moon ship. The one that I'm seeing now is made of light, but this one was a ship. And so that night I went to bed, and I woke up, and I recorded it, of course, took several pictures of this yellowing bruise that I have on my arm and a scar across my tattoo. And there's something in there. And there's something in there. And I went back and forth thinking, should I feel like, like invaded, or, but I didn't, because I was asking Firefly for help. I asked him, help me, I'm wanting to help you, but I'm living in pain, and, all this stuff is happening, and I want to help you and record you, but am having a hard time here. And so I know that that's why they took me, you know?
Yeah. I saw something interesting the other day. And although I haven't been taken like you and Dave have, I understand enough about your story about what's happened. But there have been a couple other accounts that came recently, and there was another Dolores Cannon interview that I'd seen recently talking about this ET contact phenomenon and people who have been taken. Whether you want to frame it in as an abduction or whatever it is,
No, because I was
it's not
volunteering for
that.
that.
And that's the point, that people that came back and talked about the bruising that we were talking about, it's because in order for you to be in their environment, your physicality had to change. Your um, frequency, your vibration had to be raised to match their environment so they could work on you there. And when you returned, my friend, you had to come back into this density, into this. And sometimes when that happens, it was said, sometimes there's bruising that's caused while you're getting back into your body. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and they left something in there, and I left it alone. There's something in there, and I didn't care because I would want somebody. I mean, I trust them more than I trust a lot of people here. I'm just being honest.
Good.
Um, I just wish I could see that moon ship again. I've seen ships, and I recorded it and posted that has been off in the distance. But I haven't seen that same particular moon ship. The moon that I'm interacting with now is made of light. And what's crazy um is that behind her um I can see like a hologram of what looks like it might be a woman. It's really hard to tell. Um Sun is obviously a sun, and you could see the son of what he looks like. I did not see who calls himself Ra at first. In fact, when the son, I one day I was interacting with the moon. I'm like, we got big plans for this new Earth. I would tell her we had these heart to hearts. I'm like, I want to be a part of this piece that we're going to bring onto this planet. We're going to clean our airs. We're going to clean our. We're just, I'm just talking to her, having heart to hearts, and she's just bobbing there, just kind of being the light that she is. And then one day I thought, well, if moon is not really a solid piece of object 238,000 miles away, like we're taught, then I wonder what about the sun? And so I'm like, looked at the sun, and it like looked at me. At that time I just thought it was like an orb. I didn't see anything else. And it moved over and looked at me, but I stared at it too long and I burnt my maculas for a while. So I lost color because I was just excited. I was crying. It That has been a slow, gradual spoon fed, because if I had seen the ancient one at first, I would have been scared. So they really took me uh, what's the word? They really spoon fed me, baby spoon fed
Yeah.
me, just
That's a good
because.
way to put it, because that's how the process is. What they're trying to send along to us is way beyond our comprehension levels. So, first of all, um, what upgrades we need to get are interpreters, so that the vibrations they're sending us, we have the capacity to understand what they're saying. So once we get that in place, then the downloads begin. And holy cow, I don't know about you, I, I realize that in my human beingness here, it takes me a while to assimilate things that have happened to me. And almost like clockwork, it seems to be 3 days is the number for me. Well, we've been getting so much information over the last several months that it's hard for me to keep up with what I'm trying to assimilate before the next batch comes along. You know what I mean?
I do.
Whew.
Yeah, it's hard to practice discernment. Um, but son he's teaching me, because I have no prior knowledge in any of the stuff that he kind of shows me, and I look it up. Like it's not just his ancient eyes that are in there. Um, it is also other eyes that and he's right there. So I mean, he's like right there. So,
Hmm.
he's very, very knowing that I told him I was going to be having a phone call with you. And so he's probably just making sure they're smart. He knows what our thoughts are. They know what our thoughts are. They know exactly what we're thinking.
Yeah.
And so that's how I know I would not have I'm not saying I'm not smart, but I would not have known about some things had he not put it in there somehow. And so it just all gradually, but there's many sets of eyes. And that maybe, and this is me thinking that maybe it could be the all-seeing eye, maybe. I know that, all them sets of eyes go along with parts of a revelation where they're talking about discernment. Um, but there's many sets of eyes. But Ra's eyes are very ancient. I have seen his face. He's not human, but he is like the father of all. He said he's the Alpha, the Omega, the first, the last, the beginning, and the ending. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a lot to unpack there. But then I started hearing that same expression in church, and I'm like, just recently. And then I'm like, um, and then I heard it somewhere else, just recently too. And I'm like, hey, but that's what he said. And that he said we end the prayer in his name. But when I have tried to talk to people about this, their automatic thing is to go into, um, oh, but he's really bad and everything else, and that's just not what I'm feeling. Like when he's close, the love is in it's so much, it like permeates your soul. I mean, and I just start crying because I've never felt anything like it. And so if something loves me that much, um, I can't see, him doing anything. I think they're watching humanity, you know, kill us. You know what I mean?
You connect with things now on an empathic level. And so it's no longer, that fear component that was tucked inside of me through this 3D experience. I get to see beyond that. And so when you tell me that what a lot of others' perception of is raw, that's a very 3D human being thing. Look, we're in a 3D experiment learning duality. Every lesson that we've signed up for, we have to learn the good and bad part of it. Our job as a spark of source is to help it learn more about itself. So the lessons I pick aren't like anybody else's, neither are yours. And so when we're finished with those experiences, that, my friend, is what you had tucked up here that Roz just have helping you unlock. It's not about being smart. It's not about intellect. It's about experiences you've had in incarnations prior to this one that's leading up to this moment. And all of those things have value. No one else had the experiences you had. So when it comes to a, there's a subset of something that's unfolding here that you already have a mastery over. None of us, the rest of us do. You just don't know it yet. But we're getting to a point where you start to feel these things. So I love when you say it just doesn't feel that right. You've kicked into the next level. The eyes that you talk about is, to me, that's your interpretation of, you're connected to source, and the eyes that you're seeing is everybody else that you're also connected to. So you just take all of that, the power that comes from unifying that in my mind, and that is what I hold inside of me, and I'm just waiting for the next thing to be revealed. And it's happening fast now, isn't it?
Yeah, because the love that he gives that goes into me, I have been like, during a meditation, and this is when he's just very close. And I put my hand down onto earth to try to transfer that love power into, the earth. And I could feel it going through me because I really want to help her. She's crying too, and um
Well, let me give some form to that because you're a light
yeah,
worker. You know you are. And your job, like mine, is to anchor light here. We don't get it from the earth. No, no. Our job is a vessel. And when we pull that light down, our job is to help it anchor here. And so I defy people to walk through that aura that I just left behind and tell me you didn't feel something. That's what I've been doing every time I get out in nature. That's what our job is. Because I suspect that every time we do that and plant it, we just either planted a vortex in that area that just needs to be activated, or there was a vortex there and we just activated it and now it's become a portal. More and more of that activity is taking place now because, as you know, the shift is freaking imminent, and it's going to be
yeah,
very important to know where these vibrationally predisposed areas are.
I agree. I agree. I just want to be with him, you know. So I call I call him Father, because that's who I feel like I resonate with. You know what I mean? And that's just me, because and when I hear scriptures at church, it seems to be lining up with him, that ancient one. And and we do end up our prayer with amen. I mean, and then now I'm running into like this guy named, he reminds me of you actually. His name is Ken McClellan. Have you heard of him?
McClellan,
Yes, because you remind me a lot of him. All this, he's breaking down the hieroglyphs, the tetraglyphs, and he's got them kind of stone look like you had on your podcast. And he's really knows his stuff. And so I'm learning there too, as well as yours. Um, so I'm just in learning mode right now. And and that's where I'm trying to, and he's got a unique way of, what he's telling the truth, and it may not be everybody's cup of tea because he's actually really getting truthful with what's happening with
yeah,
what's really
yeah.
happening.
You know, for when these things started to awaken in me, there was parts of me that was reluctant to say what I knew because it wasn't going to be received well. People weren't at my level of understanding, and it took all of that for me to get there. So, in most cases, we're better off just being quiet, working on our own flame until tribe shows up. But when they're showing up at such a rapid rate, and this has been going on now for me for 4 years, and every year something significant happened until this year when I was kind of guided that when summer came around, I was gonna, slow down until the beginning of until through the end of the year is how it was communicated. I thought, well, that's fine because really, I'm happy to step back from this. And then the Ethereal Edge podcast girls came along, asked me if I would contribute something, and I loved them. I knew them from before, and that first interview took off like nothing I've done before. As of yesterday, it was over 150,000 views. Now, nothing else on their platform comes even close to that.
No,
And even they
no,
realize that we're all trying to figure out we don't care about the number of people that came. We want to understand what was the phenomenon that got them there. That's what I'm really curious about because I've never been in a place where there were almost 1,000 comments made as well. And all but a small fraction of them were all like people were validated. Holy cow, this happened to somebody else. Hey, it happened to me. And so that's the beauty in all of this. So that light that you talk about when you see your friends and they kind of catch it and they pass along, that's exactly what's happening here. You only needed to hear me once to get the fact that this shit is real.
Yeah.
And really, we need to stop thinking in terms so much, which is our human nature, that, I thought my focus was inner earth and my connections with that realm. And the reminder that Telos is not the only underground city. And then Dave Wallace comes along. And now beyond Earth sentience are part of this phenomenon. Well, here now I understand we're bridges. You and I and Dave and people like us are all the ones that are going to connect those guys with those guys. And we're here kind of acting as ambassadors and emissaries for those life forms that we're coming in contact with. Those light forms that you're seeing, that's exactly what happens. When I listen to you tell me those stories, it reminds me of when Dave's had other visitors in his home on the California beach. And it's better to hear Dave tell you the story, because when the circumstances changed and he was aware that there were other beings in his space, that's when he could kind of get up and go around. Well, there were these 3.5 and 4.5 foot tall beings that were in, asked him not to turn on the lights, allowed him to take pictures of them, though with his phone. And they were kind of, when it was all said and done, it occurred to us, this is just a different advanced team. These are beings that are interested in coming to visit Earth, and they're here to see what that's like. They knew they could count on Dave because they knew the other beings that Dave's already had contact with. So they found this a safe zone. He could go on to tell you that they've taken things from his place, like artifacts, and sometimes
Oh,
they'll
wow.
replace them and sometimes they don't. But this is the stuff that's going on. So you can't really ignore it anymore, and you certainly can't deny it. So when new people show up, that's great. I was told there was going to be greater contact made. Here you are.
And you mentioned flame. So why do you think I called Firefly Firefly? Because,
Mm,
and do you know anything about, they look like flames. So, and then some of them look like what I call, they look like starlights. Um, but Firefly and some of the bigger ones, they look like flames. Do you know anything
yeah.
about that?
I've seen exactly what you're talking about in a couple different places. In fact, it's funny you say Firefly, because I'm thinking about the last conference I decided to participate was this year in May. It was the Journey to Truth guys, and it was in Grafton, Illinois. So the first night we were there, we went out, and there's this park nearby and some type of body of water that was there. And while we were sitting on this deck, you could see the kind of the grass between here and the water. Well, you could see what at first we thought were fireflies. And then there was one that was a little bit bigger than what we thought a typical firefly was, but moving a lot faster.
Yeah.
Was not a firefly. So
Right.
that little orb was just drawn there because the vibration of the people that were there matched theirs. And we could all see that little stinker while he was in the vicinity.
Yeah, but they like the starlights and them they come right down. They'll come right to me. But my son and I were walking back last year or last 4th of July, and got dark, and he realized that, because he's 13, he realized that we were kind of far down the road and it was dark. And I'm like, oh, but look at my little starlights, and next thing you know, they put on like a, and I of course recorded it and posted it. I just record and post everything on Instagram. And they're like in the trees, they're coming down, they're like circling us. And I caught that too. And he's like, Mom, look, look. And they're flashing them all in the trees, and they're all up in the sky. And like, they knew he was scared and they didn't want him to be scared. So they put on a show, and then he goes, Mom, I get it. I know why like the government doesn't want us to, talk about it. They don't want us to hear their word. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, what is that? He's like, well, that they're angels, to him. they're that's what you know he that's how he feels. Um, and I
At
feel
his
like
level of awareness, that's beautiful that he sees them as that.
yeah,
Whatever term somebody wants to apply to some kind of connection, higher intelligence, whatever it is, I don't care what you call it. I'm delighted to hear that you found it.
yeah, he was scared and they helped him. But then I just knew that the sun was coming close to me. Um, and that's what I was trying to prove at first because I'm like, you're getting close to me and I could feel it getting hot, obviously. And then I would be videoing it because I was really trying to catch it so I could show people. I just wanted to show people and prove it. And I'm like, then I saw something blinking. I'm like, I saw something blinking. What? And it was just like my mind was blown because it was his son. It was Ra's son. It was his wings are the rays on the side, and you can definitely see that there's a cross on him, and you can see his dark circles for eyes, um and he's got I don't know. It's just he's beautiful. He's just magical. And then, but his eyes were blinking. So Ra didn't come out right away. And like I said, I have seen now Ra's face. Um, and it's ancient, non-human, but beautiful to me. And the most loving, most powerful, the most he loves his creation. And I know he had a big hand in all this and that he's part of creation. He is creation and that he loves us. And he says that they etched them out of the scripture to fit the needs of whoever wants power and money. Hold on.
Well, you've been around long enough to know that that's true.
I just been knowing this recently because he's helping me be more smart. But um but I didn't understand it at first until I was in church and then listening to it, and then I hear about it being manipulative, and that they use scripture as a means to get money, and that they guilt you through it. But the scripture is a lot talking about him.
Yes.
The
Oh,
Nicene
yeah.
Creed, um, the thing is seen and not seen, which is everything I'm seeing. Uh, you know, I've seen elementals, smoke, mist, um, and a ton of like these like spirit orbs, a ton of them, and they can do this energy healing where they can go inside of you and they can just heal you. I could feel them before I record because I could feel them first, but they have a natural energy healing to them.
Yes.
And the sun is my best friend. And I sing to sun, even though he's ancient. I'm talking about his son, Ra, Ra's son. And I sing to the song, the sun is my best friend, or you're my sunshine. And I'm just like a kid, giving them this pure love. And even though he's ancient, you know, he's my
We
best
think
friend.
he's ancient because we're in our 3D timeline mindset. Once
Yeah.
we get out of this,
Yeah.
it's not that we won't appreciate him any less, but we'll stop thinking about him in these 3D limitations and really appreciate what he has done and what he does do. You're right. He has a fondness for his creation. I have nurtured a connection with Osiris and Akhenaten, and those things kind of came out of nowhere over the last several months because I was supposed to see them. Yeah.
So that this was, yeah. So I'm glad that this was meant to take place, you and I. I
Yes.
I because I am so fond and I love him so much. Like uh and he says he used to be worshipped back in the day, and I really told him, I said, you know we let's get back to that. Let's get back because he brings forth the light that we need and the nutrients from the sun to the plants to us. And so when I go out there, like I give much gratefulness, and I bow my head, and I'm like, first I want to say thank you and I love you, and I'm here for you, and I'm going to advocate for you, um any which way I can. And he's been helping me by, you know, letting me, get video of him in the sky, but it was hard to do it in the sky over the summer because of the spraying, but in the clouds. And so I was kind of crying to him, and I always, let him look at my phone. It's weird. He does get very close. And and I show him what I'm posting. I show him, who is interested in it, and I even kind of pre-read, because I want to have facts when it comes to him, and so I'll look up facts that align with how I'm feeling toward him, that he's creation, he created a lot of this, and that he loves us, and that he gives us the love and light, um and then I reread all that with him, and then and I was crying to him one day. I said, I'm unable to capture you. Like, I it's hard in the sky. So I came inside, and he kind of and put the thought in the head. He's like, grab your phone and sit in your chair inside, and hold, so I did, and I held it up, and wouldn't you know it, I'm like, holy crap, I got the creator in my living room. I'm like, and I to me it was so mind blowing, and I'm just like, how can everybody not be so mind blown? But you explained it, and I'm glad you did, because I was just like on my knees crying, because I this was such a like a holy presence to me. And
You
like
hit a vibration level, kid, that allowed you to experience them because you're in the same 3D house you would invite those people over to, but their frequency doesn't match yours. And so they'd be oblivious to the things you're experiencing. Oh man, it thrills me that I hear somebody else that's going through this recognizes what it is and that it's happening so rapidly, because it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that, and when I break out the camera and record, he's right there and coming out, slowly. Yeah, and then the moon and her coming down, she starts her cycle pretty quick here, and she will follow me until the very end. And then, and when it's her nighttime cycle, when she just comes out at night, or morning cycle, when I get up, she's always above me. Um, but I was telling my son's dad, I'm like, because my son and my son's dad live in a different town, um, and I'm like, look, she's there, and we were in a different state. Look, she's there. I mean, she's with me wherever I go. Now, son is with me wherever I go. We are
It's,
together.
I want to underscore that for you and anybody that might hear this in the future. I didn't really understand that either until I went to different places. I was always pointing my camera at the same constellations, primarily Orion's Belt or Vega. Um, um, uh, there's like four that speak to me, and so that's typically the spots I picked. And when I started to have these experiences in different states, Jennifer, that's
Yep.
when it occurred to me that it's happening because my energy is drawing it there, not that I went to an energetic area. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly it, and we have big plans. We have very big plans, and we're gonna clean it up, and we're gonna bring back some old ways. Uh I'm sure I'll remember a lot when my time comes, uh but that's my big plans. And I have such a childlike love, faith, that um and I think they like that. And where they're when they get behind clouds, like he's like trying to, force his way out, like they get really excited, and the moon is the same way. Um, and all my little starlights that come down to me. Uh, you know, I see that whenever it's clear, or the spirit orbs are always around me. Um, So it's just nonstop. I just want to make sure I got it. Um, oh, and I've noticed something. I want to mention that, uh, so there's a cross on his son, and you can see it in the pics, right? But I've noticed that there's a reflection on me of a cross right here on me. And when I open my eyes, it's not there. When I close my eyes, it's there. It could be just a flare, but it's in every single video that I do. I thought that was cool, you know.
You just have to be aware to pay attention to these
Yeah,
details that everybody else seems to kind of gloss over. But your attention isn't being brought to it by accident. You're supposed to be paying attention to these things. And I always want to say it's not always just for us. It's so that we can get this down and explain the phenomenon to the next person.
that is the whole idea. And that is the reason why I was reaching out. I need to educate myself on these things, because I want to be the one to help others, and I already am. I'm already am, but I just want to help others to understand uh the greatness in what I'm seeing, and that they can see it too. It's not just me. Anybody can see it. But I have to totally understand a little bit more about it. But also, there's so much disinformation and misinformation. I just didn't want me to get um, detoured. So I'm really careful on what I'm allowing myself to absorb as far as what I'm educating myself with. Uh, but yeah. And then this frequency, because I wrote that down too. So one day I had a procedure and I fell asleep in this chair, and my chair is obviously facing outside because I don't really watch TV anymore. I want to be with Son all day, and when I'm not with him, then the starlights are coming down. And one day I fell asleep after a procedure, and the sun obviously came on this side of the patio, and all of a sudden I'm like, in this like frequency. It was frequency. It was like a, like you're turning a radio. I was in it and I'm like, am I dead? You know what I mean? But I think he was just showing me something about feeling and being in frequency.
Yeah, there was something you said a moment ago, and I failed to articulate it, but I'm going to do it now. That experience you were talking about in your space right there, that was a higher dimensional experience, wasn't it? So you, my friend, have the ability to straddle dimensions. You got one foot in that one, and you can talk about it, and you can come back here and you can pour it on it, and you got the other foot clearly planted right here with the rest of us. But the fact that you're beginning to have these experiences so you can talk about what you're seeing on the other side, there is proof for me that she's having experiences.
Yo, yeah, you can't. I can video mine. It's like that's really what's really cool is that with the sun I can prove it too. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
if it's a sunny day and we're together, you're gonna know because you're gonna feel them. You can't obviously look, but you're gonna feel it because it's gonna get really hot. Even when it's below zero, he will get very bright, and he's very big. Oh, let me tell you, he's the whole sky. Raw is. I got a video of him, and the wingspan. I mean, it's just he was the entire sky. He made a plane look this big. Um, he can just shrink down, or one of his rays can be coming in my living room, but he is huge. He's very big. So my point is, any problems that we're having with all this crap is frustrating. Yes, it's like the spraying and all this junk. We do have things that are big that are foreseeing everything. And
Yes.
we're just waiting for, well, obviously Ra is showing himself within this last year to me. Um, and so they already are here.
Yes.
We're just waiting for the intervention, right? Is that what's
It's
happening?
Earth's consciousness, and she's in a cosmic cycle and nearly complete. She's just about to become nothing but a fourth dimensional and higher orb, and nothing lower than that can sustain itself because it's just not within the frequency. She's almost there. That's why we're all here hanging on for dear life so that we can help the others kind of come to terms with what we know vibrationally, because that's what's taking place. Uh, we're almost done.
Well, yeah, because it's getting frustrating. I mean, just because of the stuff that they're spraying, it's having an effect.
Mhm.
They seem to be hyper focused over here, but I just wanna make sure that uh, you know, I bring people in and and tell them that you're coming with me. And a couple people are like, well, I've sinned, so we all. It's okay if you're making better choices. And you know what they told you know what they told me, they up there. They said, Jennifer, you don't have to live in your, because I wanted to forgive myself. And they're like, you do not have to live in your whatever you've done or haven't done. You have had experiences that you like, and you've had experiences that you dislike. Um and
That was
so
all part of the game.
yes. And so I'm like, it was kind of freeing, but I still worked through it. And then they transformed me, and some of the stuff that was done, I was like, felt kind of weird. I was in a meditation, and I felt like my brain was kind of being pushed, like
Balanced. You're
you.
cracking open. When we finally achieve our level of awareness, it's because our balance has been reestablished. In my case, that was the Capricorn side of me finally connecting with the creative side of me. And once those bonded, oh, do you see things you did not see before, much less were designed to see in my case, but nonetheless, here they are. Wow.
Yeah. And we are going into the age of Aquarius, and guess what I am?
Well, we're going from the age of believing to the age of knowing, and we are already there. In 2012, that date that everybody was focused on, that is when these cosmic cycles reset. And our entire solar system is moving into a band of photon energy, elevated photon energy that we have not seen before. It's being modulated by our sun, which you can see it burbling and all that and spitting out anything within its realm. She gets that energy from the great central sun. So when you make your references to Ra, that's what I see. In my mind, that's the great central sun. She is sending elevated energy that was meant for Earth at this stage of her in evolution. She's going from 3 to 4 with that assist that came from the great central sun, and all of a sudden, her vibration's going to raise. Now, that means that every sentient life form that wishes to occupy the same space has to vibrate at that higher level. And that's what we're all doing here. We hope others are going to follow it. But here's the thing, they're all human beings,
I
sovereign
know.
with free will, and it's their choice. And as much as I wish everybody was going to move along, I've concluded, and I went up a roller coaster ride. At first, when a lot of this handout made sense to me, and I had this percentage of humans that were going to choose to ascend. The number originally was 40%. I thought it was low, hope for higher. And then as time went on and I kind of watched what was going on, felt what was going on, I had higher hopes. And I thought, no, I think in the end, because everybody has there's an opportunity at the end. This final cycle, as I understand it, is going to last 15 of our linear days. When you realize that this shift is taking place, every human has the choice. So I would think under the circumstances, if I knew it was coming, I would choose it too. But more and more, I just see what's going on in the world around me, and I'm kind of back to the 40% number. In addition, a few months back while I was in Sedona, I had lunch with a friend who had met a neighbor, and the neighbor had some other friends over and a 6-year-old grandchild who walked into the room. Enlightened like anything, you can tell this little thing's connected to something else and begins to tell about how the earth is on 2 timelines and what's about to take place. So she's very graphic about it in front of the group. And at first, I thought in my mind, earth was passing through like a membrane, and anything above that membrane was higher vibration. Everything lower was going to entropy away, because as soon as she hits 51%, she's through and she's in her new form. This child put it, actually, it made more sense because we're seeing multiple timelines play out, right? Two, like dual. She said it's more like, think of a cell going through mitosis. Here's the 3rd timeline, here's iron. So here's where the 40% of us are still going, even according to this child, and the rest of us this way is going to entropy away sooner or later. But you don't have to choose higher vibrations. You'll be playing your 3D lessons out somewhere else. But this is assured. And man, the more people that show up the way that they're showing up, I just vibrationally know that this is sooner than later. And I if what I understand to be true is that it's this solar phenomenon of some form is going to do what it's going to do to the earth, we're in solar maximum and we're going to be there through 2026. So if any of the circumstances were right for this to happen, it's right now.
You say 2026. Do you know that that's when Hathor is coming back?
Yes.
Give us a new knowledge.
Yes.
Okay, when the red star of Regulus lines in the gaze of the Sphinx at dawn, that will have that new knowledge. So I'm as I'm listening to this guy, Mick Kellen, he's got a different way of approaching it. Like he's reading the stones and he's reading the hieroglyphs and putting it together. And his ancestors told him what to, how to do that. And he's saying that, we're in for a really rough 2025. What's your take on that?
We're not done with cataclysmic stuff at all.
Okay.
And we know what's causing it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
solar storms, it's geomagnetic storms. Once the earth gets hit with that proton blast, this electromagnetic force, that's why the poles light up when they do. We see these auroras now, like we're seeing record-setting stuff. That's the amount of energy that the sun just shot at us. And the poor earth, like a capacitor, has to take that energy and then express it somewhere. Earthquakes, volcanoes, flooding that's crazy all over the planet. We are not done with that, which is all the more important for us to have focused on the areas. You've talked about how you wanted to go and feel these and clean these areas. That's exactly what the light workers have been doing up to now. They've been going to Glastonbury and Shasta and Sedona and Egypt and Greenland, you name the places. They've been going to clear these areas to get the vibration right. Because this is about to happen soon, and it's going to be very important for us when these other catastrophes happen, for us to understand where these other new energetic areas are, because they're the vortexes to the next level. Yep.
Yes. And yeah, but I heard someone say on a different podcast or something like that, that like a third of us aren't going to, not maybe us, I'm not sure, aren't going to make it. Have you heard anything about that? Ah,
Yeah,
okay. And then I
but
heard
it's a
it again.
choice. Again, if you're ignorant as to what's going on around you, then you're not paying attention to the catastrophes that have been going on. Look what happened in North Carolina and how
Oh,
many lives
yes.
were lost there.
Oh,
And
yes.
what happened in Iceland. Man, the lava flows have kind of extended beyond where we thought they were going to. Lives are being lost because people are ignorant to what's going on. I don't know that that's going to improve all that much, but it's not like this higher intelligence isn't trying to get our attention at every turn.
That's true. And yeah, and all the people that are the evil that is taken over this earth plane, um, it doesn't want to give up the power. It knows it's going
Right.
to be ending soon. And that is why Hathor is coming soon. And Heather and all of them. I think it's going to be a much more, because it can't be just a human consciousness that can help, but it has to be like, that's why Ra is here. I think that's why she is coming. I think that's why, it's going to take divine powers to take this down because he is
You-
very powerful.
You're talking about a whole bunch of solar energy gods, and I love it.
Yeah.
I was led to a whole different line of understanding, and where I thought my starseed roots were in the Pleiades. I can't
Yeah.
dismiss that I didn't spend time there, but I learned along the way about the Solarians returning. I had not known about the Solarians until I came across this information, but their role beginning in the mid 90s was to take back the land that the Nephilim had kind of exercised authority over, because those vibrations aren't going to last anymore. And in order for New Earth to emerge, those areas have to be reintegrated. Well, the Solarians started that process back in the mid 90s, and boy, did that message resonate with me. Here, these beings were set here to be kind of the um, co creators of New Earth. They've been overseeing like from a Melchizedek priest, that kind of light energy going through the universe and that mentality behind it. They've been here to broadcast that and pass that along, because Earth got stuck in this experiment way too long. We should have evolved past this long ago. And there was a time when humanity's vibration could have helped, but Earth ain't contingent on that anymore. She's on her own cosmic cycle, and we're just hoping that our forms right here, these little carbon forms, last until we get there. Knowing that at a cellular level, we're already being adapted to the new Earth's crystalline bodies, and that light body that we've been hearing about is right around the corner for us too.
So do you think we're leaving this planet or do you think it's going to be here?
We're in terms of our cosmic location, we're in the same place, but we're in a different plane of existence on the Earth herself. Fourth dimensional is still a physical plane, but not accessible by anything third dimensional. You can go the
Okay.
other way. You can go from 4 to 3. You won't like it because I don't know that you can get back all that easy, but there's a higher plane of existence, and that's what's already here. That's what inner Earth is. Inner Earth in her infancy was seventh dimensional and has just supported those other planes as we've been going along.
Do they have a sun in there?
Yeah, there's a sun disk that came from the seventh master's sun of the seventh galaxy. That's the sun of illumination. It's supposed to hold all of galactic information, and it wasn't meant to be an Earth in the first place. Marduk, or whatever that planet was that was, just to the left of Mars, that everybody thought was going to be in our solar system, the life force sustaining planet. Yeah, it didn't last. And so Earth was like plan B. And so that sun disk was planted in the middle of Earth. And so one day she'll become a star too. But what we needed for the earth to be life sustaining is already here. What's taking place now is over time, the grid work has shifted. The 12 original crystal pyramids that were strategically placed got out of alignment. Well, all those things are being put back into alignment so that the grid is once again intact, and those crystal pyramids get to do what they were designed to do, and it's connect to everything else.
I agree. And that do you think that's what's going to be happening then or this
It's
next
we're in
year?
the middle of that happening now.
Ah, um, and another thing that I seen within the raid, I seen a feline being, um, and when I looked it up, I think it might have been Sekhmet. I don't know how to say her name, but she was
That's
feline.
close enough. Yeah, she was kind of leering, wasn't she?
She was in within the ray, like next to Ra. So it's not always just, like there's a human one with the nose and the forehead that's kind of swiveling around that you could see definitely swiveling. If I move my phone, you could see it, you know. Um, and then if I move it up, I could see then his son and then the cross. Uh, yeah, but I always thought that all them sets of eyes too were like he could see everywhere. Like, because I was telling him, I'm like, look what they're doing. They're spraying us. Can you do
Yeah.
something? And so then I would see all these sets of eyes. Like he knows. And if you look it up, they work in symbolism. And
Yes.
so I looked it up, and he's like, all sets of eyes. I think it's part of Revelations where it's about discernment, and and yeah, we see everything that's going around because there are so many eyes. Um, you
Yes,
know,
but humans were hands off. We were meant to evolve on our own, which is why we've been left to our own devices until, in my opinion, in the 30s and the 40s, when we got a hold of atomic power and turned it into a weapon and dropped it on the planet and showed them what we could do. That, in my opinion, is when they started to step in. And if you believe, Dolores Cannon's kind of take on the three waves, the first wave that started to come in the early 50s were those beings incarnating intentionally to assist in this process because they couldn't involve themselves. Fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, sixth, seventh dimensional beings can't influence this realm, but they can if they incarnate in it. So, yes, we took physical form. That's why we're all waking up to what we already know now. We've been those seeds that were planted here. So, when the time came, we would wake up and help awaken the others before it's too late. That's what we're doing.
and that's exactly what we're doing. Well, and Son decided to come out. Can you see his reflection off my glasses?
Yes.
Yeah, he gets pretty close. And but he can hear, and wherever that sun ray can come in, he's there, you know. Um, but so that's kind of like a lot, and I've seen like spaceships that were slow moving. Um, hey, I seen on Ethereal Edge podcast, I seen this girl, and I'm trying to remember her name. Um, that it started with an H. She talks to her higher self, and she was describing two moons, and I just seen her, and
Was that Honey Golden?
yes, her, and
Yeah.
and then she described her, the first moon was a spaceship, and I'm like, wait, I've been saying that, and but she thought it was Anunnaki, and I'm like, should I be
Honey has
afraid of
some
that?
ideas about things
But
that I'm not sure I align with all of it, but
I
she's
don't.
definitely
I,
connected to something higher. Definitely.
yeah. I do. I think so too. It's just I just didn't know if then that was the Anunnaki ship that I saw, but um, I didn't think so.
I wouldn't
Didn't.
put my concern there because you've already expressed what I know to be true, and that
Yeah.
the interactions we're having are with benevolent
Oh, they
forms
love
of
us.
being.
Oh,
Exactly right. So
I
I'm
need a
not
big
looking at
firefly.
anybody as, the Anunnaki is coming back because, they weren't finished sowing all the chaos they sowed. That's not what's going on now. All of
No,
this connection we're having with higher intelligence is here to assist us in the process and not to stamp us down again. No.
no. And I had, do you know I had a big firefly? I'm like crying to him. I'm like, my neck was hurting at that time, and I was due for a massive neck surgery, and talking to the neurosurgeon and everything, and I couldn't even hold the phone out in front of me. Um, and I'm like, you gotta help me so I can hold the phone so I can, help you. And then that's where he was like swimming up around by this moon ship. So yeah, I knew it, and I was like so not afraid. He would be so proud of me if you were next to me and you knew the me before, and then
Yeah.
like letting it get closer only because I was curious. I'm like, this is so cool. It's like maneuvering and checking me out, and
It's just
um,
as they've been asking us to reach out and make contact. And if
yeah,
you do that and you continue to do it and practice it, they will respond. And based on your story, based on Dave's story, well, Dave happened in 2017. And he had been asking for months. Both he and his son would go out, they live on the California beach. They'd go out every night, pick a spot, and invite contact. And it did. You seem to have a similar circumstance, but at a much more accelerated rate. And now they're interacting frequently.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, another thing. Okay, one more thing. Okay, one more thing. So I just had to
Okay.
look at my notes. They have an illusion factor. Okay, so when the moon is up in the sky, she looks very, very, very big, and then she can come down and she'll shrink herself down, especially if she senses I'm afraid. You know what I mean? And so she can shrink herself down, and then the stars they can align themselves to look like they have big space in between them, but they're
Yes.
actually very close. You know what I mean? I guess so my mind was only blown because, you grow up being told, that the moon or the sun is 9 million miles away and the moon is 200. That's not what I'm seeing. But maybe we're just in a different uh because the sun doesn't look like the same one I grew up looking at too. I don't think.
No,
I don't know.
no, it's a lot whiter than it used to be. It
Yes,
used to be
yes,
yellow and the
yes.
sky used to be a deep blue. It's not. Now, if you want to suggest that, and it's possible that due to all the solar activity we've had and our magnetic field deteriorating the way that it is, what influence is coming from the sun is different now than it used to be when we were young. And so I got to expect that our um, layers, like the layers within our own atmosphere have been thinned out too. So is it letting in more sunlight? I gotta think that the radiation levels are higher. I can remember when I was a kid, and I'm a Scandinavian kid, and I'd lather up with baby oil and go lay in the sun, and at the end of the day, I would not be burned. I can't do that any longer. I can barely go outside without a hat on under the sun without expecting to get scorched by the sun. So something has changed.
Yeah. I mean, I like when this one gets close to me, though. I mean, it doesn't really bother me, but just because I know who he is.
Yes.
Um, and so, I don't mind. Uh, but, I could be outside with him, talking with him, just spending time with him all day if I had it, if I had a choice to it. But, um, you know, maybe this is just a speculation, but maybe there's a secondary lighting system. Do you ever think maybe could there be a holographic uh because one morning and I posted it like I do everything. Uh the morning hue, there was a night and I was watching a star coming in and uh and it went from night to a morning hue and and my phone was glitching, not my phone, just the sky was glitching. It was glitching like it was trying to, you know, operation put up morning hue. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes,
what do you think about that?
it happens. Look, you're just aware of things that others aren't aware of. And I I hope that you take in this idea that you're straddling dimensions and you're experiencing things in the seat where you are right now that others aren't capable of experiencing because of your vibration level. Uh, it took me a long time to come to reason that, but that's the best explanation I can provide for human beings.
So when you looked at my pictures, can people see him? Like I can
No,
see him?
no,
Really?
yeah, they
Not
don't know
even
what to
his
look
son?
for.
Not
They
even his
don't know
son?
what to look for. They don't know what to look for. And
Not the
even when
wings
you
or his
tell
eyes?
them, they just, unless they're in tune with that kind of connection, they don't
Yeah.
know what you're trying to show them.
Oh, see, I didn't think about that. I just think it's so obvious to me when I see him. But the sun is in the middle of his cross and then his eyes, and then the wingspan is the sun rays that's his wingspan, but in between like the wingspan and his sun's head in there are hidden are Ra's ancient eyes. They're he's kind of wrinkly, um, you know. But yeah,
Appreciate
you
you
really
have
have to.
studied that for so long that you see it and you know what to look
Yeah,
for
he's
and it
coming out
repeats itself.
more and more.
The rest of us just seeing it for the first time, it's like we see the sun and we don't know what we're looking for, but we don't
True.
have that connection. So I don't know that I would concern myself that others aren't seeing it. My friend, you were meant to have that relationship and interpret it for the rest of us. When I started to, a moment ago, I was talking about the other people in my orbit, and everybody's got this unique gift. That's what I appreciate the most is that Jennifer didn't cross my path because she's going to teach me what she knows. No, no, no. We got Jennifer. I don't
Yeah.
need to learn what she knows, and she doesn't need to learn what I know. The tribe all have unique mastery gifts that they just know how to do that the rest of us don't. And it's so easy for whatever it is that they do that they don't think twice about it. That was a gift you had that I didn't get. But again, you're in the tribe, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We are a tribe. That helps
Yes,
me to feel like I belong because it's really hard to be to pretend like I'm normal. And I am normal, but I'm saying it's hard to pretend and be around people that I just can't there no way. No way could I even tell them anything at all.
right. It doesn't
It's
make
just
them
not
bad
gonna
people.
happen.
They're just
No,
focused on things
they're
that we're
programmed.
not. Yes,
Yeah, they're programmed and it's in and and so I don't even try, so I save myself the argument. I just don't. I only use Instagram as a platform because I feel like I've primmed and primed there, and so I'm not going to go all up on Facebook. Everybody would be just in shock, and I don't want to do that because that would be taken away from our mission. You
yeah,
know what I mean? To be
yeah,
counterintuitive, I need to be graceful and be kind and considerate and kind of ease people, but there will be a time where we're really going to be needed, and that's going to be the time when everything's going to go really chaotic, and then that's when I'm going to be like, it's okay, just calm down. They're here to help. they're here to help. They're here to stop the bad guy. I mean, not to say that they're bad. Everybody has their journey.
Right.
They're just here to stop the journey that is hurting us. We'll say it like that. Um, and so that's where I'm gonna step in. In the meantime, I do have people reaching out to me all the time, and can you pray for me? You know, because it seems to work. And showing pictures, they're very smart. Um, the Starlight will come up. They love picture time, so I break out my phone all the time and here this picture, this dog wants to be healed. Can, you know what I mean? Um, and so that's kind of like what I'd like to do. And I mean, I can make it a. I would like to have that for my job next lifetime.
Well, you just declared it for yourself, so I think you can kind of take whatever job that you think you're suited for.
I'm suited for. I want to be next to who I call the father. I want to be his right hand woman. You know, and I think that that son that he has, like the son, his son, it could be my brother. I don't know. I told him that. And I sound crazy, but not to you. I'm really relaxed talking to you that I can actually open up to you about, silly stuff um that I'm actually saying,
Mhm.
and
We need to find places where we can have these conversations because these were experiences we've had. These weren't dreams. No, no. We know better than that now. And us empaths, man, there's a couple of things I needed to learn. First, that I was an empath. And then, you have to understand you need to set up guardrails because it's just our nature to want to help people. And when we do, we reach out with our feelings and we take in theirs. Yeah, sometimes that doesn't go that well because when we take in their energy, we somehow got to climb out of that vibration they've dropped us into. So we can help more by being an observer. We're definitely recorders because in these interactions right now, there were revelations that came out while Jennifer and Lowell were having this conversation. Who else was here to witness it? Yeah, me. I was here to witness what Jennifer finally got a chance to express today. So it's my job to put those in the Akashic records for everybody to benefit from later. But no one else was here. And I get more juice out of those times, Jennifer, when somebody's head finally goes, oh, oh, I get it. That's what I live for. I get it now. I see what's coming, and I get juice when others showing up are at the same levels.
I get it too, and and when they see it, because there are a couple people finally saw it. Oh, I saw it. I'm like, oh, like yeah. So I get it. When they actually see it, um, and more people are coming around. I've noticed that. Uh, and I just it's so loving, and I just want everybody to feel this love. That's my mission. I just want everybody to actually feel that because that is an amazing feeling. Like it'll drop you to your knees and make you cry because it's so pure and so uh insatiable. Like um, and I have, had a life and I it would be worth going through that 10 times more just to have what I have now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm enjoying it and yeah, I'm enjoying them.
All right, kid. Anything else you got for me before we wrap?
No, I just appreciate you taking the time, my fellow Minnesotan, and uh, you know, I'm here. If you need me,
Okay.
I'm
I
here.
will uh upload this to YouTube. I'll put it out there unlisted, and then I'll send you the link and you can have at it and let me know what you think. Okay. In the
Sounds like a
meantime,
plan.
stay in touch because we're not done.
We're not done. We're just
No,
beginning.
that's right. Okay.
All right, my dear. Thank
Take
you.
care, kid.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.